My daughter asked her stepdad, my ex's affair partner, to walk her down the aisle. She told me, Leo needs to get over what he saw. That was the moment I cut her off. The silence in my house is usually peaceful. It's the kind of silence I paid a high price for. The silence of a home where no one is lying, no one is screaming, and no one is hiding secrets in the master bedroom. I worked hard to build a life where peace wasn't just a luxury, but a standard. But tonight, the silence feels different. It feels heavy. It hangs in the air like smoke after a structure fire. It feels like the calm after a bomb has gone off, and you're just standing in the wreckage waiting to see if anyone else is going to walk out of the dust. My name is Mark. I'm 52 years old. I'm a structural engineer. I build things that are supposed to withstand pressure. I calculate loads, I design foundations, I make sure that when the wind blows, the building doesn't fall. But last Saturday, I was the one who pulled the pin. Last Saturday, I was supposed to be the father of the bride, standing in a tuxedo, watching my only daughter start her new life. Instead, I was 4,000 miles away, sitting on the deck of an overwater bungalow in the Maldives, drinking bourbon and watching reef sharks circle in the turquoise water, while my daughter's wedding imploded back home. To understand why a father would do something that drastic, why I would willingly become the villain in my daughter's story and torch $40,000 worth of plans, you have to understand the ghosts that haunt this family. You have to go back 12 years to a specific Tuesday afternoon that split our timeline into before and after. Before, we were normal. Or at least, I thought we were. I was working long hours to pay the mortgage on a nice 4-bedroom house in a good school district. My wife, Linda, worked part-time as a receptionist at a dental office. We had 2 kids. Leo was 14. Sarah was 12. We had the golden retriever. We had the minivan with the stick-figure family on the back window. We had the annual camping trip to the lake where things always went slightly wrong, but we laughed about it later. From the outside, we looked like the American dream. We were the family you wanted to sit next to at the PDA meeting. But the rot was already in the walls. I just didn't see it. I was too busy being the provider. Too busy making sure the bills were paid and the college funds were funded. I trusted the foundation of my marriage because I assumed my wife was building it with me. The explosion happened on October 14th. I remember the date clearly because it was a Tuesday and I had a client meeting that ran late. I remember stepping out of the conference room at 4:30 p.m. and checking my phone. I saw 3 missed calls from Leo. No voice made, just 3 calls back to back to back within the span of 2 minutes. Leo wasn't the kind of kid to blow up my phone. He was 14, quiet, independent. He was the kind of kid who fixed his own snacks and did his homework without being asked. If he called 3 times, the house was on fire. I called him back immediately. It went straight to voicemail. My stomach dropped. You know that feeling? That instinctual, primal dread that hits a parent when the universe shifts? I felt cold. I grabbed my keys, abandoned my paperwork on my desk, and ran to my car. I drove home too fast. I ran 2 yellow lights. My mind was racing through scenarios. Car accident, broken bone, fire. When I turned onto our quiet suburban street, I didn't see fire trucks. I didn't see an ambulance. I saw my 14-year-old son sitting on the curb, 3 houses down from our driveway. He was still wearing his backpack. He was hugging his knees to his chest, rocking back and forth. I parked the car in the middle of the street, door open, engine running, and ran to him. Now, Leo, are you hurt? What happened? He looked up at me, and I will never forget that look as long as I live. It wasn't just fear. It was a complete loss of innocence. His face was gray. He was shaking so hard his teeth were literally chattering, the sound loud in the quiet afternoon. Don't go in there, Dad, he whispered. His voice sounded thin, like it was coming from a great distance. Please, just take me away. Just drive. I grabbed his shoulders. Leo, talk to me. Is Mom okay? Is Sarah okay? Sarah's at soccer practice, he said. Mom is inside. With Gary. Gary was our neighbor. He lived 2 doors down. Gary was the guy who came to our 4th of July barbecues and drank my beer. Gary was the guy who borrowed my ladder and kept it for 3 months. Gary was the guy I waved to when I was mowing the lawn, an unemployed guy on disability for a bad back, who spent most of his time sitting on his porch smoking. What do you mean, she's inside with Gary? I asked, though my brain was already putting the pieces together, screaming at me to stop asking, to stop digging. I came home early, Leo said, tears finally spilling over his lashes. I had a migraine. I walked in. I heard noises upstairs. I thought you were home early, too. I went to your bedroom door. It was open. Dad, I saw them. He didn't just suspect. He didn't just find a text message. My 14-year-old son had walked into his parents' bedroom and seen his mother in bed with a neighbor. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. The world tilted. I looked at my house, the house I had worked so hard to buy, the house where we had celebrated Christmases and birthdays, and it looked like a stranger's house. It looked like a crime scene. I didn't go inside. I knew that if I walked through that front door and saw them, I would do something that would take me away from my kids forever. I chose my son. I put Leo in a car. I buckled his seatbelt like he was a toddler. I drove to the soccer fields and picked up Sarah. I told her there was a plumbing emergency at the house and we had to stay at a hotel. That night, in a Motel 6 with 2 confused kids and a broken heart, was the beginning of the war. The divorce was nuclear. Linda didn't apologize. That's the first thing you need to know about my ex-wife. Linda is what psychologists call a covert narcissist. To the world, she is the sweet, soft-spoken victim. She's the martyr. She's the woman who tries so hard, but is just misunderstood. When confronted with the affair, she didn't beg for forgiveness. She blamed me. She told our friends that I was emotionally distant. She told her parents that I worked too much and she was lonely. She spun a narrative where Gary, an alcoholic gambler who lived off disability checks, was her soulmate who rescued her from a cold, loveless marriage. I fought for custody. I fought hard. I got primary custody because Linda was too busy playing house with Gary to care about school runs or dentist appointments. She was in the limerence phase of the affair, where nothing mattered but her new love. But the courts, in their infinite wisdom, still believe that children need their mothers. So Linda got visitation every other weekend. For Sarah, who was 12, this was confusing but manageable. Sarah was the baby. Linda knew exactly how to play her. During those visitation weekends, Linda pampered Sarah. She took her shopping with credit cards she couldn't afford to pay off. She cried to her about how mean Daddy was being. She groomed Sarah to be her ally, her emotional support animal. But for Leo, those weekends were torture. Imagine being 14 years old and being forced by a court order to sleep under the same roof as the man you saw destroying your family. Imagine having to sit at the dinner table and listen to that man crack jokes, act like the patriarch, and try to bond with you. Leo stopped talking. He started failing classes. He quit the baseball team. He started having panic attacks that were so severe he would pass out in the hallway at school. I put him in therapy, intense, expensive therapy. The therapist told me Leo was suffering from PTSD. The betrayal wasn't just about the affair. It was about the safety of his home being violated. His mother, the person who was supposed to protect him, had introduced the predator into the nest. When Leo turned 16, the breaking point finally snapped. It was a Sunday night. He had just come back from a visitation weekend at Linda's. He walked into my room, pale and shaking. "I'm not going back," he said. "Now." "No, Duff, you don't understand. Gary gets drunk, and he talks about you. He makes fun of you. And Mom just laughs. And then he tries to put his arm around me and tell me to man up and stop being a sissy about the divorce. I can't do it. If you make me go back there, I'm going to run away. I'll live on the street if I have to." I looked at my son. I saw the damage in his eyes. "You're not going back," I promised. We hired a lawyer, a shark. 2 weeks later, Leo stood up in a courtroom. He was 16, wearing a suit I bought him, and he looked a judge in the eye. He detailed everything: the drinking, the verbal abuse, the trauma of what he saw that Tuesday afternoon. Linda sat at the other table, crying fake tears, trying to look like the grieving mother. The judge wasn't buying it. He looked at Leo, then at Linda. He granted the modification. Leo was effectively emancipated from his mother's custody. He never stepped foot in her house again. Sarah, however, stayed straddling the fence. And this is where the tragedy of our family really lies. Sarah couldn't understand Leo's pain. To her, Leo was being stubborn. Linda had convinced her that Leo was holding a grudge, that he was unforgiving, that he was ruining the family dynamic by refusing to play along. It was years ago, Leo, Sarah would say at dinner when she was 18. Mom is happy. Gary is trying. Why can't you just get over it? Leo never yelled at her. He would just stand up, take his plate to the sink, and walk out of the room. He knew she was drinking the Kool-Aid. He knew Linda had turned Sarah into her golden child, the one who would validate her choices. Fast forward to present day. Sarah is 24. She's beautiful, smart, and engaged to a great guy named Mike. Mike is a good man. Hardworking, no nonsense. He comes from a solid, traditional family. He knows the history of our family. Leo told him everything over beers one night. And to his credit, Mike has always been polite but distant with Linda and Gary. He sees Gary for what he is, a moocher. I was thrilled about the wedding. I'm a senior structural engineer now. I've done well for myself since the divorce. I wanted to give Sarah the world. I wanted her to have the fairy tale she missed out on as a kid. I sat down with Sarah and Mike 6 months ago. I've got this, I told him. $42,000. That covers the venue, the catering, the dress, the flowers. You guys just worry about the honeymoon. Sarah cried. She hugged me so tight. Thank you, Dad. You're the best. I love you so much. For a few months, things were good. But as the wedding date got closer, I could feel the shift. Linda was getting involved. Linda, who hadn't paid a dime of child support in a decade. Linda, who still lived in a rental house with Gary, living paycheck to paycheck. Suddenly, Linda had opinions. She wanted a more expensive venue. She wanted crystal centerpieces imported from Italy. She wanted a 10-piece live band instead of a DJ. Sarah kept coming to me with these requests. Mom thinks it will look cheap if we use paper napkins. Mom says a string quartet is essential for the ceremony. I try to hold the line gently. Sarah, we have a budget. If your mother wants a string quartet, she is welcome to write a check. You know they don't have money, Dad, Sarah would say, her eyes welling up with those practice tears Linda had taught her to use. Please? Mom says she just wants it to be perfect. She's really stressed. I gave in on a few things. I upgraded the appetizers. I paid for the extra hour of open bar. I wanted Sarah to be happy, and I knew that for Sarah, happy meant keeping Mom from having a meltdown. Then came the dinner. It was 10 days ago, just under 2 weeks before the wedding date. Sarah asked me to meet her at a quiet Italian restaurant downtown, just the two of us. When I arrived, she was already there, picking at a breadstick. She looked nervous. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Where's Mike? I asked, taking my seat. He couldn't make it, she said. I found out later Mike had refused to come because Sarah had told him what she was going to ask me, and he told her it was a terrible idea. We ordered. We made small talk about the weather. Then, Sarah put her fork down. Dad, we need to talk about the ceremony. My stomach tightened. I knew something was coming. Okay, is there another upgrade? Did Linda decide we need fireworks? Sarah didn't laugh. No, it's about the processional. The processional. Okay, I got my tux ready. I've been practicing walking slowly, so I don't trip on your train. She took a deep breath. So, Mom and I have been talking, and, well, Mom is having a really hard time, Dad. A hard time with what? With feeling included. She feels like an outsider. She feels like because Leo doesn't talk to her, and because you have the money and you're paying for everything, she's being pushed to the margins. She feels judged. She is the mother of the bride, I said, keeping my voice even. She has a front row seat. She's in the program. What more does she want? She wants to present a united front, Sarah said. She wants to show everyone that we are a healed family, that we've moved on from the past. Sarah, I said slowly, what are you asking? Mom thinks, she thinks it would be a really powerful gesture of forgiveness if Gary walked me down the aisle. The restaurant noise seemed to drop away. I felt a coldness spread from my chest down to my fingertips. With me? I asked, giving her one last chance to save herself. No, she whispered, looking at the tablecloth. Instead of you. Stepdad. My daughter. The girl I had braided hair for. The girl I had taught to drive. Instead of me, I repeated. You want the man your mother cheated on me with. The man who destroyed our family. To walk you down the aisle? He's my stepfather, Sarah pleaded, her voice rising. He's been in my life for 12 years, Dad. He's been there. He's been there. I laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. We both know Gary is a drunk leech. Sarah, he hasn't contributed a penny to your life. He hasn't attended a single graduation. He forgot your birthday 3 years in a row until Facebook reminded him. It's not about him, she snapped. It's about Mom. It's about keeping the peace. Mom says if Gary isn't included, she'll be too humiliated to come. She says everyone will look at her and see the cheater unless we show them that Gary is accepted. So to save your mother from the consequences of her own actions, you're going to publicly humiliate me? It's not humiliating you. You're paying for the wedding. Everyone knows you're my dad. This is just symbolism. It's a gesture to help Mom heal. And honestly, Dad, Mom says it's time for Leo to get over what happened. It was 12 years ago. If Gary walks me, it shows Leo that Gary is a safe person. It could fix everything. That was the moment. That was the moment the bridge burned. Leo needs to get over it, I said, my voice deadly quiet. You think Leo needs to get over seeing his mother in bed with that man? You think he needs to get over the panic attacks? You think he needs to get over the fact that Gary tormented him in that house? He's being dramatic, Sarah cried. Mom says he remembers it wrong. Your mother is a liar, I said. And you are enabling her. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out my checkbook. I had brought it because the final payment for the catering headcount, $15,000, was due tomorrow. Dad, what are you doing? I'm making a decision, I said. Since Gary is walking you down the aisle, Gary is evidently the father figure in this scenario. He has been upgraded to Dad. I put the checkbook back in my pocket. And traditionally, I continued, standing up, the father of the bride pays for the wedding. Sarah's face went white. No, they don't have any money. You know that. Not my problem, I said. If your mother needs this so badly, she can pay for it. If Gary wants the honor of giving you away, he could pay the bill for the privilege. You can't do this, Sarah screamed, causing 2 waiters to turn around. The wedding is in 10 days. Then you better hope Gary has a winning lottery ticket in his pocket. You're ruining my life, she yelled. You're a narcissist. Mom was right about you. You use money to control us. I use money to provide for you, I said. But I'm done paying for people who don't respect me. And I'm done paying for a wedding that celebrates the man who abused your brother. I walked out of the restaurant. I sat in my car and made 3 phone calls. First, the venue. This is Mark. I'm canceling the event scheduled for next Saturday. Sir, you'll lose the deposits. It's 10 days out. I don't care. Cancel it. Second, the caterer. Cancel it. Third, the florist. Cancel it. Within 20 minutes, I had torched $40,000 worth of plans. I lost about $5,000 in non-refundable deposits, but I saved the other $35,000. Then, I drove to Leo's apartment. Leo is 26 now. He's a graphic designer. He lives in a clean, quiet apartment with his cat. He's built a good life, despite the wreckage of his childhood. When I knocked on his door at 9 p.m., he looked surprised. Dad, everything okay? I walked in, sat on his couch, and told him everything. I told him about the dinner. I told him about the request. I told him about Sarah saying he needed to get over it. Leo listened. He didn't get angry. He didn't yell. He just looked tired. She really drank the Kool-Aid, didn't she? He asked softly. Yeah, kid. She did. So the wedding is off? Unless Gary has 35 grand hidden in his sock drawer, I said, which we both know he doesn't. Leo actually smiled. Gary doesn't have $35. I looked at my son. I saw the strength in him. The resilience. He had been the one to see the truth 12 years ago, and he had been punished for it by his mother and sister ever since. I have a lot of money sitting in my checking account right now, I said, and I have vacation time approved at work. The wedding is next Saturday. I don't want to be in the country when that date hits. I don't want to be here for the fallout. Leo looked up. Where? I was thinking somewhere with no cell service. Or at least, somewhere where the water is so blue you don't care about your phone. How do you feel about the Maldives? Leo's eyes widened. Dad, that's expensive. I was about to spend 40 grand on a party for people who hate me, I said. I'd rather spend it on a vacation with the only person in this family who has ever been loyal to me. Pack your bags, Leo. We leave on Wednesday. This gave us a 48-hour window before our flight. And let me tell you, those 48 hours were a siege. I went back to my house that night to pack. It was nearly midnight. I had just poured myself a drink when the doorbell rang. Then the pounding started. Dad, open up, please. It was Sarah. She was screaming, banging her fists against the wood. I didn't turn on the lights. I didn't move from my chair in the living room. I pulled up the Ring camera feed on my phone. She looked frantic. Her mascara was running. She was sobbing, hitting the door, alternating between begging and yelling. You can't do this. You have to fix it. Mom is screaming at me. Dad, please. It broke my heart to see her like that. Every instinct I had as a father screamed at me to open the door, to hold her, to tell her I would fix it. That's what I had always done. When she scraped her knee, when she failed a test, when a boy broke her heart, I fixed it. But I couldn't fix this, because fixing this meant breaking myself. Fixing this meant betraying Leo. I watched her cry for 20 minutes. Finally, she slumped against the door, defeated. Then she got in her car and drove away. I didn't sleep that night. The next day, Tuesday, I went into the office to wrap up some projects before the trip. I thought I would be safe there. I was wrong. Around 11 a.m., my assistant, Brenda, buzzed my desk. Her voice was tight. Mark, your daughter is in the lobby. My stomach dropped. What is she doing? She's demanding to see you. She says it's an emergency. She's crying, Mark. She's making a scene. People are staring. I closed my eyes. Sarah knew I hated public scenes. She was using that. She was banking on the fact that I would do anything to avoid embarrassment, that I would come out and write a check just to make her stop. She was using Linda's playbook. Tell her I'm in a meeting, I said. I did, Brenda whispered. She says she's not leaving until you talk to her. She says she'll sit here all day. She's shouting about how you're ruining her wedding. I took a deep breath. I looked at the photo of Leo and Sarah on my desk, taken years ago at the lake. They were smiling. Call security, Brenda, I said. Mark, are you sure? I'm sure. Have them escort her out. Do not let her back in. I hung up. 5 minutes later, I watched from my second-floor window as 2 security guards escorted my sobbing daughter out of the building. She looked up at my window. She knew I was watching. It was the hardest thing I have ever done. But I knew that if I went down there, if I engaged, I would be pulled back into the vortex. I had to hold the line. We left the next morning. We flew first class. We rented an overwater bungalow that cost more per night than my first car. We turned our phones off for the long flights, but when we landed and connected to the resort Wi-Fi, the explosion had reached us. My phone was vibrating so hard I thought it would shatter on the table. 50 missed calls from Sarah, 20 from Linda, a dozen from Gary, and hundreds of texts. I didn't answer any of them, but I read them. Sarah, Dad, please, I'm sorry. I was stressed. Please don't do this. Sarah, the venue just emailed me. They released the date. Dad, fix this. Sarah, Mom is freaking out. She says you're financially abusing us. Sarah, Gary tried to get a loan, but he got denied. Dad, please. Linda's texts were more vicious. You petty, vindictive bastard. You're punishing your daughter to hurt me. I hope you die alone. Gary sent one text. Be a man. I laughed out loud at that one. The man who sleeps on a couch bought by his wife's ex-husband telling me to be a man. I showed the messages to Leo. We were sitting on the deck. watching the sunset. Should I reply? I asked. Leo took a sip of his drink. Replied to Aunt Karen. She's the only one who actually cares. My sister, Karen, had been texting me too. She was the family spy. She was giving us the play-by-play of the meltdown back home. According to Karen, here is what happened in the days leading up to the wedding that wasn't. When Sarah realized I wasn't bluffing, after the house visit and the office rejection, panic set in. She turned to Linda and Gary. Dad is out. You have to pay for it. You said Gary is the head of the household. Linda, cornered, revealed the truth of her financial situation. She had nothing. No savings. Maxed out credit cards. She tried to guilt-trip Mike's parents. She called them and gave them a sob story about how I had abandoned Sarah at the altar. Mike's parents are old-school conservative. They asked, why did Mark pull the funding? When they found out, it was because Sarah wanted the affair partner to walk her. Mike's dad apparently laughed on the phone and said, good for Mark. I wouldn't pay for that circus either. They refused to give a dime. Then came the grand finale. Gary, desperate to look like the hero and terrified of Linda's rage, took what little money they had, their rent money, about $2,000, and went to the casino. Yes, really. He thought he could pull a miracle. He thought he could turn $2,000 into $30,000 on a sure thing at the blackjack table to save the wedding. He lost it all in an hour. The wedding date, last Saturday, came and went. Leo and I were out snorkeling when the ceremony was supposed to start. The venue back home was empty. Another couple had actually booked the ballroom last minute for a corporate event. Sarah spent her wedding day crying in her apartment. But the real casualty was her relationship with Mike. Mike saw the chaos. He saw the way Linda manipulated everyone. He saw the financial irresponsibility of Gary. And he saw Sarah defending them, demanding money from me, and disrespecting the only stable parent she had. Mike called off the engagement. He told Sarah, I love you, but I can't marry into this. Your mother is a cancer, and you haven't cut out yet. I'm not going to spend my life bankrolling Gary's gambling and Linda's ego. Leo and I spent 10 days in paradise. We ate incredible food. We really talked, about things we hadn't touched in years. You know, Leo said on our last night, looking at the stars, I always felt guilty for leaving Sarah behind with them. You didn't leave her, I told him. You saved yourself. That's different. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. Do you think she'll ever wake up? Maybe, I said. Rock bottom has a way of waking people up, and I think she just hit it. We flew back yesterday. The house was quiet again, but it felt cleaner, lighter. There was a letter in my mailbox. No stamp, hand-delivered. It was from Sarah. I sat at the kitchen table and opened it. Dad, I know you probably won't read this. I know you blocked my number. I don't blame you. Mike left me. He moved out yesterday. The wedding is gone. The money is gone. I'm staying at a friend's place because I can't stand to be around Mom right now. When the wedding got canceled, Mom didn't comfort me. She screamed at me. She told me it was my fault for not handling you better. She said I should have waited until the checks cleared before asking for Gary to walk me. She admitted it, Dad. She admitted it was a strategy. I want to see a therapist this week. A real one, not the life coach Mom goes to. I told her about Leo, about what he saw, about what I asked you to do. She looked at me and asked, why did you think your father should pay to celebrate his own replacement? I didn't have an answer. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I hurt you. Im suri idis misa leos trauma. I'm sorry I chose the fantasy of a happy family over the reality of the dad who actually loved me. I don't expect you to fix this. I don't expect money. I just wanted you to know that I'm finally seeing it. The fog is lifting. I love you. Sarah. I put the letter down. I haven't called her yet. It's too soon. She needs to sit in this feeling for a while. She needs to understand that actions have consequences that can't be fixed with a simple, I'm sorry. But I did text Leo. She wrote a letter. She's seeing a therapist. She's out of Linda's house. Leo replied instantly. Good. Keep the door locked for a bit, but maybe leave a light on. That's my boy, wise beyond his years. As for me, I'm looking at my bank account. The 35,000 is still there. I think I'll keep it there for now. Maybe I'll invest it. Maybe I'll save it for a future grandchild's college fund, if Sarah does the work to heal. Or maybe, just maybe, I'll book another trip next year. Leo says he's always wanted to see Japan. I hear the cherry blossoms are beautiful in the spring. And the best part? They bloom in silence. No drama. No narcissists. Just peace. Have you ever been replaced by someone who was never there? Someone in your family chose to appease a toxic person over the one who actually showed up? Share your experience in the comments. Sometimes the hardest part isn't the rejection. It's everyone telling you that you should just accept it. That you're being petty for having boundaries. That keeping the peace matters more than the truth. But does it? I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you believe that being present matters more than playing pretend, hit that like button and subscribe right now. Because sometimes the person who earns the title is more important than the person who demands it. Hashtag Team Leo.